Hello everyone, it's Sapphire here and we're week 3 already on our Sirdar Crochet Along. How did that happen? Don't worry though, if you're still back at week 1 or week 2, there's plenty of time to catch up and that's absolutely okay. Work at your own pace, the pattern and videos will be there the whole time. This week is rather exciting, so we've completed our watermelon in week 2 and we're now going to be working our strawberry ripple and our raspberry ripple panels. They are super fun, I love the berries. The lovely little ripple that you see along just reminds me of beach vibes, summer ice cream, strawberry ice cream with that ice pink colour. And we're going to learn how to add a front post half treble, so that's a half double in the US, to create this effect. So it's really not difficult. It looks more confusing than it actually is, but the video will show you exactly where we're going with this. And then we've got our lovely bubbles. Again, they look very difficult, but they are super easy. Everyone's going to be very impressed if they see these, because you've got your green tops for your strawberries. Like, how did someone do that? But it's really easy, and I'll show you exactly how we're doing that. In the video for this one, I may say refer to your pattern because it's quite repeated, so there's a lot of repetition here. But if we're struggling, just pause, rewind, and you can do that as many times as you need. The strawberry ripple we will work directly into the top of our watermelon panel, and then we're going to work our raspberry ripple panel separately, ready to use again later. So we're ready, let's get crocheting. I'm going to grab my hook, and I absolutely love when my tools match my yarn. So red hook, red berries, let's go. So we're just starting on our week 3 for our strawberry ripple panel, and this works directly into our week 2 watermelon panel that we've created previously. Of course, I've been a bit naughty and I've not quite woven in my ends, but perhaps you will have done that already. If not, this is a good little reminder. So we're just going to grab our white yarn. So we're starting week 3, row 1 in white, and we're just going to turn our work, working into the wrong side with our first row. Going to attach our white yarn. We're going to chain 3 and add 1 treble crochet into each stitch along until we reach the end. So we've got 170 treble crochets at the end of row 1. And we've done these rows previously, so we'll do a few together and then I'll meet you at the end. So 1 treble in our first, and then into each stitch to the very end. So we're just coming to the end of row 1 now. Just add those treble crochets into those last stitches. And 1 into that very last. And then we're going to turn our work so we are front side facing. Now we have completed our eyelet stitches in our week 2 for the watermelon panel. So row 2 for week 3 is a repeat of the same. So we will do a couple of those. So we're chaining 3 to start. And we're adding 1 treble crochet into the first stitch. And then to create the eyelets as before, we're chaining 1, skipping 1, and then adding a treble crochet into the next. Now there is a reason for doing these. So each of the posts between our eyelets are going to become the foundation for our ruffles to sit as we get through. So we'll complete a row of our eyelet stitch, chaining 1, skipping 1, adding a treble, all the way to the end of row 2. And then row 3, we will work as we have done before with our trebles, we're going to be adding 1 treble crochet into each stitch and chain space to the end, and then we will work 1 last row of white in treble crochets into each stitch to the end. So that's continue with your pattern, and I'll meet you at our next colour change. So we have just completed row 4 of our week 3. We've got our eyelets ready for our ruffles, and we've just finished by tying off our white yarn, and we're now bringing in a lovely new colour, our lagoon blue, to create some pip stitches. So we're going to keep our front side facing, so right side, and we're just going to attach our lagoon blue colour into the very first stitch, leaving a nice tail to weave in at the end. And for this row, we're going to chain 1 and add a double crochet into the very first stitch. So we're chaining 1 and then 1 double crochet into that first stitch. So this is similar to our eyelet stitch, however it's a little bit smaller using our doubles instead of trebles. So we're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch and add a double crochet into the next. So we're chaining 1, skip 1, add 1 stitch into the stitch that follows the skipped stitch. Chaining 1, skip 1, 1 double in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double into the next. We repeat that until there's only 1 stitch left. So chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet. I'm going to continue this all the way along our panel, and I'll meet you where we've got our last stitch left. So as I have a smaller version of the final blanket, I've got a couple of stitches left, but you should just have 1, and we'll just add 1 double crochet into the last stitch according to our pattern. But for the purpose of my video, I'm just going to finish off the repeat of the pattern here. So with a chain 1, skipping, adding that last stitch in there. And then we're going to tie off our lagoon blue colour. Okay, so we've just turned our work to the wrong side, and we're going to work row 6 in our white. I'm just going to attach that into the very first stitch, leaving a tail to weave in later. We're chaining 3, and we're going to add 1 treble crochet into the very first stitch. And to make our lagoon blue colour really pop, this row calls for us to add 2 treble crochets into each chain 1 space. So we're not adding a stitch into the double crochets we've made, we're adding 2 trebles into each chain 1 space. So we'll do that now. So we're adding 1 and then 2, and we skip the little pip stitch and we add 2 treble crochets into the next chain 1 space. And again, we're skipping the little pip and adding 2 trebles into the next chain 1 space. We repeat this process all the way to the end of the row, into the last stitch. So I'll meet you there. So we've just made it to the end of our row with the last chain 1 space and 2 stitches remaining. We need to add 2 trebles into that chain 1 space. And finishing our row with 1 treble crochet into the last stitch there. And here we will tie our white off. Okay, so we've just finished our row 6 in white and we've tied the yarn off, and we're just starting our row 7 with a lovely new colour, iced pink. Kind of like strawberry ice cream. Let's pop that in. So we're going to keep working in the wrong side for this row. And we're going to attach our iced pink into the very first stitch, chaining 3. And we need to add 1 treble crochet into each stitch all the way along until the very end, and we'll have 170 lovely ice cream pink stitches when we've finished row 7, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so we're now working our row 8, which will be with our lovely strawberries. So we need our tomato colour and our grass. And we don't cut the iced pink either, so we're working with 3 strands of yarn throughout this row. And we're going to start off by chaining 3. I already had 1 on there somehow, so I've got 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to add 2 treble crochets, so 1 in the first stitch, 1 into the next, but we need to change to our tomato colour for the berry on the second stitch. So 1 treble in here, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and not quite complete the treble crochet, leaving 2 loops on the hook. We're just going to bring in our tomato colour. We're going to yarn over and pull through, and that changes ahead of our berry. So for our berry, we are going to add 7 treble crochets in the colour tomato into the next stitch, and then we will work from there. So yarn over, hook into the stitch, catching the 2 running yarns that we have. We're just tidying and anchoring our tomato thread there before we weave it in. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It's the first one. We need 6 more, so that's 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now it almost looks like we've got a fan. We just need to pull up a nice loop for now. And here's where we're going to add our lovely leafy bit for our strawberry. So we pop the hook backwards. So we're working backwards even. So we're going into that very first tomato coloured stitch we made. And then we're hooking on the loop that we pulled up. So we can see we're into the first and the last stitch there. And then we're just going to grab our grass green for the leaf and pull through and pull through. So our strawberry, we need to add a slip stitch between each post of the treble crochets. So to do this, we find the first two stitches. We're going to add a slip through here, so pop in your hook, grab the grass colour and pull it through. And we're not going to do anything else with it as yet, we're just going to leave them on our hook. So between the next 2 stitches, pop in your hook, pull up another grass coloured loop. And again, so we now have 4. Between those 2, we have 5, and we have 6. The very last one is really hard to wiggle, but just grab another loop through there. So we are going to now yarn over and pull the loop through all of the remaining loops on our hook. This can be a bit fidgety, so if it feels a bit tight, just give your hook a bit of a wiggle. Grab the yarn, and I find it easier to just pivot my hook so it's pointing down and the yarn does not then slide off. We can just draw that hook all the way through, pulling it nice and tight, just to pull that bobble together for our lovely berry. We're going to change to our iced pink colour and simply do this by grabbing the yarn and pulling it through. So this is where it gets a bit tricky to just keep your yarns nice and flush with the work when we're just working over them. So we now need to work our treble crochets into the next stitches along. We need to add 2 treble crochets. So 1 treble crochet into the next stitch. And to keep it nice and neat, just give it a little tug and then another. And then we have our pattern repeat. So we're going to add another 2 treble crochets and then complete another berry. So 2 treble crochets, still carrying our 2 colours for the berry along. And then the second treble crochet, we need to change to our tomato colour before we finish the second treble crochet. Keeping everything nice and tidy so we don't get in a pickle. We're just going to add 7 treble crochets for our berry into the next stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Pull up a loop to go ahead and complete the top of our berry as before. So we just add our hook into the first stitch, grabbing that loop. But as we already have our leaf, grass colour for the leaf already attached, we can simply just pull that up now, ready to use. Pull that through to the front ahead of making our slips between each stitch again. So we're going to pop the hook in between the first 2 stitches, pull up a loop, then the next, pull up a loop all the way along. We have 7 loops. And again, if it's feeling tight, give it a wiggle. We're going to yarn over, turn our hook so we can pull that all the way through. And then change to iced pink to continue with our following treble crochets, catching our 2 colours for the berry in between. And here we go, we have our lovely little berries, and we repeat this pattern repeat all the way to the end of our work, and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm just going to pause here at the end of my row, and we've got our 2, as per the pattern, we have 2 stitches left to crochet. My swatch is a little bit smaller and I've got much less berries than you. I'm just going to add my last stitch, but you do need to add 2 stitches to finish your row 8. So we're going to turn our, we need to get rid of some of these dangly balls of yarn for now. So I can find my scissors and just snip those 2 colours for our berries, and we can weave those in later. we're just going to turn our work. We see the back of each of our berries quite clearly here, and we're going to work row 9 in our iced pink by chaining 3. And we're going to add a treble crochet into each stitch to the end. Now when we get to the berry, I'm just going to show you where we're going to place our stitches, because it almost looks like we have 2 stitches here, but we actually just need to ignore our tomato colour. We're just going to go ahead and get to that point first. So we add our treble crochet into the first stitch, and the next, until we meet up with our first berry. And we're just going to add the treble crochet into the top V of our green here. So ignoring the tomato colour, our 1 stitch for the berry goes into here. And then we're going to, again, forget about this bit, just stitch straight into our iced pink from the previous row with a treble crochet. Show you that again. So we're just at our second berry. We find the top V for our green colour. So sometimes give him a little bit of a wiggle. We can find it, so it's here. See the 2 stitches for our V. We're going to yarn over, pop our treble crochet into that V. Forgetting about this piece of tomato, I'm just going to go across into the next set of treble crochets with our treble crochets. We'll do it one more time, and then it is the same all the way through. So again, we're finding that stitch in the top of our strawberry. So look for a green V. Just give it a wiggle if it's not quite coming out. There we go. Adding our treble crochet there. Ignoring this for now, and just adding our treble crochets to the end. So we'll continue working all the way along, and you can see by placing just the 1 treble crochet into the top of our green here, we're not adding any additional stitches, and we're just pulling this back together so it's nice and tidy, keeping our berries sitting neatly across our row. So the next few rows out in our pattern are things we've done before. So you just follow along your pattern until we've got something new to show you, and I'll be there to go through how we can add our lovely ruffles to our week 3 panel. So we are just at the end of our row 16 for our strawberry ripple panel, and we should end up with 170 treble crochets along the top. We're going to be working our ruffles next, and we're going to work those into the posts that we've created in our eyelets on row 2 and 14. To do this, quite easy, we just turn our work so we can work back down this ladder, and we're going to use our iced pink to make our lovely little ripples. So to add our iced pink yarn to our work to complete our ruffles, we're going to insert our hook, and we're going to just pull through a loop. We're going to add 2 chains here to start ahead of our half treble crochets, and this first chain 2 counts as 1 half treble. We're going to add 4 half trebles into this space here over the post. So we're going to add 1, we're yarning over, pulling up a loop, we're yarning over, and we're pulling through all 3. Going to add 3 more of those into the same space. And again, 2 more. So including the chain that we started at the beginning, we now have our 5 stitches here. We're going to, it feels a little bit unnatural, we're going to turn our work all the way around, spin it around, so we can then complete the same into our next post along. So we just find our next post for our eyelets, just here, inserting our hook, and we're pulling through. Oh, I need to yarn over first because we need to add our half trebles into here. So we're adding 5 half trebles into the next post along. So it's yarning over, inserting our hook, yarning over and pulling up a loop. I find it easy just to pinch the work, so you've got your post at the top there, so you can just add your stitches as you go. Finishing that first half treble, we add 4 more into that same space. And now we've gone back on ourselves to create a little loop, and then we're going to spin our work because we repeat this process. We want to go back up again on our next post. So we just turn our work as we had for our first one, and we can see we're starting to create a nice little shape there. And we just yarn over, and we need to add 5 half treble crochets into the next post along here. And again, if we find it easier, pinch your work so you can bring that post to the top and add your 5 half trebles directly into this space here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5. You see it's starting to create that lovely ruffly pattern. Going to go and do 1 more. Again, we find it easier, find our next post, pinch the work to bring the post to the top, and we're adding 5 half treble crochets into that same stitch, or space even. We just complete this process all the way along, turning our work each time so we create that nice ruffle effect. And I will meet you at the very end, and we complete the same as we've done here on the next set for row 2 originally. This is row 14 of our eyelets, and we will finish then our lovely strawberry ripple panel. So continuing on for week 3, we have got our lovely raspberry ripple panel, and this is ever so slightly different in the way we start because we're not joining on to a panel that we've previously made. So we're chaining 171 to begin, so just creating a slip knot and adding that to my hook. So we will whiz along and create our chains, and then our first row of double crochets just to give the panel a bit of structure ahead of creating the raspberry ripple pattern. And we follow along our pattern, and just be mindful that we have a few slight tweaks there. So the raspberry panel's a little different. Here's one I made earlier. We have, instead of lagoon blue as in our strawberry, we have our lime green colour for our pips, so just keep in mind on that for your pattern. And then we will be working slightly different colours when we get to this point for our raspberry ripple section. So here we are at completed our row 7 for our raspberry ripple panel, and we're about to start the section where we have our raspberries. We're introducing a new colour, so we've got a lovely pink shade. So we just complete a row of treble crochets with pink. So we're going to just turn our work so we are wrong side facing. I'm going to just add our pink to the very first stitch there, leaving a tail to weave in at the end. And we're chaining 3 to start. So first row, we're going to add 1 treble crochet into each stitch along, ending in our pattern at 170 pink treble crochets. And I will meet you at the end. Okay, so we have finished our row 8 on our raspberry panel, and we're just going to turn our work so we're back to the right side, ready to add our lovely raspberries. And we will need our Cupid and our grass colour to complete this row. And we're going to start this by chaining 3 and adding 1 treble crochet into each of the first 2 stitches. So we're going to add 1. But on the second, we are going to be changing to our berry colour in that last stitch, similarly to what we've done with our strawberries. So bringing in Cupid. We're just adding that colour in, ready for the next stitch. Now I've got a little bit of thread there, so let's just start that again, so it's nice and neat. So 1 treble, and then we are changing to Cupid on that second treble. There we go, much nicer. So we need to add 7 treble crochets into the next stitch ahead of making our lovely raspberry. So let's go ahead, just yarn over, insert the hook, catching those 2 threads there. We just want to anchor our Cupid yarn ready to weave that in at the end. And we're carrying our pink colour along for this row. So that's 1 treble. And our second, third, fourth, fifth, 6 and 7. And we're going to bring our lovely leafy grass colour in. So pulling up a loop, again, similar to our strawberries, just insert our hook into that first stitch, grabbing the loop, and just find the end of our grass colour. And we're pulling that through here, just to add the top. So the tops are slightly different to our strawberries. We don't need as much of the leafy top. So instead of going into slipping our grass into between each stitch, we're going to go every 2. So we're going to slip into not the first, but the second space, pulling up a loop, and again, 1, 2, inserting, pulling up a loop. Last one, 1, 2, inserting, pulling up a loop. So we will have less loops on the hook. We've got 4 in total. To yarn over and give it a wiggle, just so then we can tilt our hook down and draw that through all of those there. And it just gives a nice little touch of the green instead of a bigger leafy top as our strawberries. So we'll do that again. Just need to change to our pink now. So grabbing the yarn, pulling that through. We have a lot going on behind here now, so we just need to try and keep it all neat, tucking it in. So our next 2 half treble crochets, we will just place in there, catching the other colours as we go along to keep it tidy. 1 and 2. And then we start our pattern repeat again. So we're going to add 2 treble crochets. But on this last one here, we just need to change to our Cupid colour. So find the correct end. So we've got this one here. And we're just going to add again 7 treble crochets in Cupid into the very next stitch. Just get some of those out of the way now. Can worry about those ends at the end. So 7 trebles. Now remember, you can go back as many times as you need to, pause, rewind and rewatch for these berries if you're finding them a bit tricky. But once you've done a few, you should be able to whiz along. So we have our 7 treble crochets in Cupid. We need to add our leafy top. So we're going to pop our hook into the first stitch, grabbing the last loop. And we're not joining the green now. We've already got our grass here. So we're just going to yarn it over and draw it through those to pull together that berry. And again, for our leafy top, we are just adding a slip between every 2. So we're going to pop the hook in, 1, 2, into this section, pulling up a loop, skipping 2, again, pulling up a loop, and then 1, 2. This one can be tricky, so to do this I sometimes just turn my hook and then push it through like that. And there we go, we've got 4 loops. Give it a wiggle, turn the hook to face down and draw it through. Changing back to our pink. Here we go. Ready to continue on, catching the yarns as we go. So we complete this process all the way along to the end of the row. And then the pattern is very similar to our strawberry ripple. So we will just, again, be mindful that we've got different colour pips. So we've got our lime green instead of lagoon blue, but if we follow our pattern, it will just let us know when we need to change our colours. And I will meet you at the very end of this ripple panel. So here we are at the end of our week 3. We've completed our strawberry ripple panel and we have our lovely raspberry ripple panel. And we have completed our last row of treble crochets and then made our lovely ruffles to finish. And all of our other stitches are available in our video, so just feel free to pause and rewind if we need to go back to our pip stitch that we learned this week and our berry. And we've worked our eyelet stitches behind our ruffles in week 2 and 1 if we need to refer back to those. So here we're going to make our lovely lemons using our lemon colour. Just find the end here. So I've got the end. I'm going to create a slip knot and add this into our hook. So back loop over the front, not quite fully off of the finger. And then the following loop over the finger to create that loop and drawing up nice and tightly onto our hook. So we're going to chain 3 to start and then slip stitch into the first chain to form a little ring. Now you can use the magic ring method if you prefer. I just like to do it like this. And for round 1 we're going to chain 3 to start. Now, it's important to note that this chain 3 counts as a treble crochet. And then we're going to add 11 treble crochets into the little ring that we created at the beginning. Let's just find the center by pulling that out there. So we're yarning over, popping the hook in, drawing up a loop, yarning over, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through. So we create 11 trebles all the way around. If we include the chain 3 that we started with, we'll end up with 12 treble crochets. If we lose count, we can quickly count those just by counting the posts. So we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need number 10. Oh, whoopsie. 10, 11, and 12. And now at the end of the round, we're going to slip into the top of our chain 3 that we started with. So slip through and pull that tight. In round 2, we're going to chain 3 to start. Again, this counts as a stitch. I'm going to add 1 treble crochet into that very first stitch. And then all the way round, 2 treble crochets into each stitch. And we will end up with 24 stitches in total, which includes that chain 3 that we started with. So always a good spot to look out for here is that sneaky stitch there, but just to double check that we do need to add 2 treble crochets into there, we'll just count. So we have 22, we need 2 more treble crochets into that sneaky stitch there. Ending this round again with a slip stitch into the top of our chain 3. Creating a circle. So for round 3, we're chaining 3 to start again. This counts as a stitch. And then we're going to add 2 treble crochets into the next stitch. That's our first set of the pattern repeat. So we now need to start the repeat with 1 treble crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 in the one that follows. One in the next, and then 2 in the one that follows. And we repeat that all the way around. Ending with 1 last repeat, so 1 treble crochet and then 2 in that last stitch, ending round 3 with another slip stitch into the top of our chain 3 that we started with to close. So we have our lovely lemon circle, sunny little circle, but we need to make it a little bit more lemon shaped. So we're at round 4 even. And we're going to do something a little bit different here. So we're going to start with a chain 1, which I've already got there. And we're going to add 1 double crochet into the first and the next stitch. 2 double crochets into the next. 1 double crochet into the next 2. 2 double crochets into the next. 1 double crochet into the next 2, 2 double crochets into the next, and then 1 double crochet into the next 2. And we're going to make our lemon a little bit more pointy here, so we're going to add 1 half treble crochet into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet into the next, and then 1 double treble crochet stitch into each of the next 3. So we'll just go through that. It's a new stitch, yarning over twice, inserting our hook, yarning over, drawing up a loop. We'll have 4 loops on our hook, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Again, yarn over twice, need to add this into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook, yarning over through 2, yarning over through 2, yarning over through 2. One more time. And then we're going to add a treble crochet into the next stitch, a half treble crochet into the next, 1 double crochet into the next 2, 2 double crochets into the next, 1 double crochet into the next 2, 2 double crochets into the next, 1 double crochet into the next 2, 2 double crochets into the next, and 1 double crochet into the next 2. We're going to be creating the opposite side of our point, so we're going to add 1 half treble crochet into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet into the next, 1 double treble crochet, that's a mouthful, into the next stitch. It's almost like a tongue twister but crochet version, and another into the next, and another into the next. And then we have 1 treble crochet into the next, and we have our sneaky stitch at the end for 1 last half treble crochet, joining with a slip stitch to the first double crochet that we made. And then we can tie that lemon off, ready to make our leaf. So leave a nice long end ready to weave in. And there we have our lemon. So we've finished our lemon and it's just missing its leaf, so we'll make that now. We start our leaf using the grass colour. Leave a nice long tail before we add our slip knot to our hook. We're going to start with a chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 more, 7. And we're going to add 1 double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 1 double crochet into there, 1 half treble crochet into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet into the next 2, 1 double treble crochet into the next stitch, so we're yarning over twice for that, popping our hook in, drawing up a loop, yarning over through 2, yarning over through 2, yarning over through 2, and then we're going to add 5 double treble crochets into the very last chain. That's 1. 2, 3, and we see when we get to our third one, we're going to want to start working back almost down the other side. So we're going to add 2 more into the same chain, turning our work.
And then we're working back down the other side of our chain. So it's the next set of stitches performed in these loops here. Going to add a double treble crochet into the first one. One treble crochet into the next two. And then one half treble crochet into the next. Finishing with a slip stitch in the very last stitch. Drawing up that loop to then tie off. And then we can add our leaf to our lemon as so.
So I've shown you how to make our lovely strawberry ripple panel and our lovely raspberry ripple panel, and you'll have noticed in the video they are ever so slightly different, so just make sure you have watched that and just seen that slight difference. We have a more green top for our strawberry and a less green for our raspberry. If you need any support, again, there is our Facebook Make Along group, lovely community over there. Everyone will be supportive, any help you need. But the videos, just keep rewinding and then replaying if we do need to go over those stitches again. And as a beginner, these look so daunting, so I want to reiterate, just take your time, pause, reflect, try again, and you will definitely get the hang of it. It's probably a good time again to give a reminder to sew in those ends. They're not my favourite job, but let's do it as we go because we don't want to end up with lots at the end, so here's a handy reminder for you all.